The following morning, Leeway and Amara sat together at the breakfast table, soft sunlight spilling through the windows and casting warm gold along the edges of the plates. Leeway glanced at her as he spoke, asking what she intended to do with the boy. He reminded her that the child couldn't stay with them, that keeping him any longer might even be seen as kidnapping, and that it was best to take him to the police or return him to his home. Someone was bound to come looking for him. Amara nodded gently, agreeing that they would drop him off. She added that perhaps, just as Leeway had said, someone had come for him by now. Leeway kept his gaze fixed on her, telling her he would take the boy back when he left for the office. He leaned closer, brushing his fingers along her cheek with quiet affection, telling her she looked beautiful. Reaching for a strawberry, he dipped it in cream and placed it between his lips, intending to feed it to her with a teasing, intimate closeness. But before their lips met, the little boy appeared out of nowhere, reaching up and grabbing the strawberry straight from Leeway's mouth. He popped it into his own and told Amara proudly that he could do it too. Leeway turned slowly, staring at the boy with an expression that hovered between disbelief and resignation. He inhaled deeply, suppressing the irritation rising within him as he watched Amara laugh softly and shift all her attention to the child. She fed the boy with gentle care, and Leeway observed them from across the table, realizing that this would be their life if they had children. Constant interruptions, no privacy, no quiet moment alone with the woman he loved. A short while later, Leeway stepped into East Gate Group, his strides firm and deliberate as he moved through the corridors. Employees bowed respectfully as he passed. His steps slowed when he reached the wall of portraits. He stopped in front of his father's photographs, the ones he had used to replace his uncle's. He stood there for a moment, staring up at the familiar features. A heaviness settled in his chest as he thought about how deeply he missed him. He hoped, quietly and almost painfully, that wherever his father was, he was proud of the man he was becoming, proud of the choices he was making, proud of the battles he had survived. His assistant approached from behind, announcing that someone wished to see him. Leeway turned slightly, asking who it was. When the assistant mentioned a blonde-haired woman, Leeway immediately understood who it had to be. He continued walking, his assistant updating him on the matters he had missed. When he stepped into his office, he found Kai's mother already waiting. She stood gracefully, offering a polite smile. He said nothing as he walked past her, settling into his chair, his expression unreadable as he fixed his gaze on her. She moved closer, complimenting him on how well the president's position suited him. Still, he remained silent, his eyes steady and unyielding. Feeling the weight of his silence, she apologized for the events of the previous day, saying that vengeance had blinded her judgment and she had not intended to harm him or Amara. Leeway finally spoke, telling her that the apology should be directed toward Amara, not him, because if he had not intervened, Amara would have died under her hands. He reminded her that she had promised Amara protection, yet had broken that promise and tried to harm her. Kai's mother bowed her head, admitting she had been wrong and didn't know what had come over her. Leeway held her gaze for a long moment before telling her that he would consider accepting her apology only because she was Kai's mother. But the same mistake must never happen again. Next time, he warned, he wouldn't be lenient, family ties or not. She exhaled in relief and thanked him. Leeway opened his laptop, attention shifting back to his work. After a moment, he looked up again and asked if that was all. Kai's mother hesitated before her expression shifted subtly. She said she had one more request. Leeway told her to proceed. She stepped forward, explaining that she hoped he would reconsider Fang's position in the company. She knew Leeway and Fang had personal issues, but Fang's current status was affecting him deeply. She added that she wasn't asking for a high position, just a decent one that wouldn't crush him. Leeway studied her, then asked if Fang had sent her. She immediately shook her head, insisting this was her own concern, a mother worried for her son. After a long moment of consideration, Leeway told her he would think about it. Her face brightened with relief as she thanked him sincerely and left the office. Meanwhile, after class, Amara made her way toward the female dormitories. She headed into Momo's room, noticing immediately that she wasn't there yet. Amara sat on the edge of the bed, waiting. Her eyes drifted across the room until something on the table caught her attention. She stood and walked over, spotting an envelope from the university. She opened it, pulling out the document inside. As her eyes moved across the words, her expression slowly shifted. Her breath hitched. The letter stated that Momo was facing termination from the university due to unpaid fees. Her hands froze around the paper as shock rippled through her. Amara stood there, clutching the letter, her eyes tracing the words again and again, her mind racing. She had always assumed Momo had it easy, that Master Shen had been covering her tuition without fail, but the reality in her hands told a different story. The door opened, and the moment Momo stepped inside, Amara rushed to her, holding out the letter as she demanded to know why she had kept something like this from her. That her studies were about to be discontinued because of unpaid fees. Momo paused, her expression unreadable for a moment, before she told her that she simply didn't want to burden her with her own problems. The words stung, and Amara, hurt, reminded her that they were supposed to be best friends, that she should never feel like she was a bother. She stepped closer, telling her that she had thought her father was paying for her, and asked what had happened. Momo's voice was quiet yet firm when she said she didn't want his money, that he had walked out of her life and now returned acting like a good father with money, and she would rather have her studies discontinued than accept anything from him. Amara stared at her, stunned, realizing that no matter what she said, even if she tried to explain that Master Shen truly loved her, Momo wouldn't hear it. Her mind was set, and Amara knew all too well how stubborn she became once she decided on something. She stood there thinking, trying to figure out what to do. When she looked back at her, she suggested talking to Leeway, reminding her that the university was his and he could help, but Momo immediately objected, saying it would look like they were taking advantage of him, using his position and wealth. Amara stepped closer, telling her that Leeway wasn't like that and that he wouldn't mind, but Momo insisted there was no need, and that she didn't want to become anyone's charity case. Amara looked at her again, seeing the pride and stubbornness written all over her face, her refusal to accept help even when she desperately needed it. Momo moved toward her closet, telling her not to worry and that she would find a way. Amara turned toward her, asking her how she planned to do that. But Momo stayed silent. Amara moved closer, studying her expression, and finally asked her if this was the reason she had urged her to take the photo shoot job. Momo gave a small nod. Amara didn't hesitate. She grabbed the card from her bag, pulled out her phone, and immediately dialed the number. When the man answered, she introduced herself, reminding him that they had met at the club and he had asked if she was interested in a photo shoot job. The moment Momo realized what she was doing, she rushed toward her, telling her not to do this, but Amara stepped back and continued. She asked the man if the offer still stood, and he confirmed it, adding that she was lucky she called because the shoot was that very afternoon and he could still squeeze her in. Amara smiled, thanked him, and gave him her details. He told her he would send the location shortly. She thanked him again before ending the call. Momo immediately stepped toward her, insisting she shouldn't have agreed, reminding her that she herself had said the offer could be dangerous. Amara held her hands, telling her it was all right, that she couldn't stand by and watch her suffer, knowing she could do something. She added that Momo herself had said the man seemed genuine, so she trusted her judgment. Momo finally told her she would go with her, just in case anything went wrong, and Amara nodded. Later in the day, they sat together in the back of the Uber as it carried them toward the shoot location. Momo glanced at Amara, leaning in to whisper a soft thank you, and Amara smiled, telling her it was all right. When the Uber finally pulled up, they stepped out, staring at the towering building in front of them. They both stood there in disbelief, realizing the photo shoot was being held at East Gate Group. Meanwhile, inside East Gate Group, Suri moved through the corridors with her usual composed grace, only to come face to face with Fang. He stopped the moment he saw her, staring at her as if trying to read her entire soul. He asked her if she was truly that ruthless, that his father had passed away, and she did not even bother to call, did not even check on him. He asked her if everything they had shared had meant nothing to her for her to behave this way. Suri kept her gaze steady, telling him that this was not the place to discuss personal matters. She tried to walk past him, but Fang grabbed her hand, holding her back. Before he could say another word, his mother appeared around the corner. Fang immediately let go. Suri cast him a sharp, unmistakable look before walking away without another word. His mother watched her leave, her eyes narrowing slightly before she turned back to Fang and asked who the woman was. Fang hesitated for a moment before telling her that she was no one. His mother smiled, pleased, and told him that she had spoken to Leeway, who said he would consider giving Fang a better position. Instead of being happy, Fang's voice hardened as he asked her why she felt the need to go and flatter Leeway, adding that it only made Leeway underestimate him even more. His mother responded firmly, reminding him that Leeway was now the president of East Gate Group, and that Fang should be grateful he was still keeping him in the company at all, let alone considering promoting him. Fang cut her off, saying he didn't care about any of that, declaring that he was going to take over East Gate Group, and that he would make sure Leeway was reduced to nothing. His mother stepped in closer, whispering sharply for him to watch his tongue, that Leeway was not the timid boy he once remembered. She said the Leeway she had seen now was different, dangerous, and that if Fang wanted to keep living, he needed to listen to her and stay out of Leeway's way. She told him to accept that East Gate Group was gone for him, and that fighting Leeway would only end the same way it had for others who had already been killed. Fang's eyes widened at that. He moved closer, demanding to know what she meant, asking if people had actually been killed. His mother simply looked at him, refusing to elaborate, and warned him again to stay away from Leeway and to stop trying to play tricks on him. She said it as a concerned mother, not as a strategist. She adjusted his collar gently and told him that if he wanted power that badly, he needed to rethink his path. That instead of chasing after low-class women, he should consider marrying into a powerful family. Through marriage, she said, he could gain influence, and perhaps then he might be able to stand on the same level as Leeway. She told him she knew beautiful girls from strong families and could arrange blind dates for him if he was willing. Aligning himself with a powerful household and marrying a powerful wife was the fastest way to rise. Fang stood there, listening quietly, her words sinking deep. His mother smiled, smoothing his collar one last time, reminding him to think about what she had said. That Leeway was a no-go area, powerful and ruthless in his own game, and Fang would never defeat him. With that, she walked away, leaving him standing in the corridor, lost in heavy thought. Leeway sat in his office, his attention fixed entirely on his laptop as he reviewed performance reports from every department. The door opened, and Suri walked in. She stood before him with a soft smile, informing him that the marketing department was holding a shoot today and that they had outsourced a reputable agent who brought his own equipment and models. Leeway simply nodded, telling her that all he cared about were solid results. He said it without even looking at her, his eyes still glued to his screen. Suri asked if he wanted to review the plan or the models, but Leeway finally looked up at her, telling her he trusted her and she should handle it. A smile spread across her lips as she assured him she would deliver perfect results. She walked out, and Leeway returned to his laptop without another thought. Amara and Momo made their way into the East Gate Group building, their eyes wide as they took in the sheer scale and luxury of the place. Momo glanced at Amara with a teasing grin, asking how it felt to know her man owned and presided over such an empire. Amara blushed, insisting it wasn't hers. It belonged to Leeway. Momo laughed, telling her that soon they would be married, and what was his would be hers. She looked around in awe, noting how spotless everything was, how elegant the environment appeared, how organized and polished the employees looked. She leaned in again, joking that the place was full of beautiful women, and she could only imagine how many of them threw themselves at Leeway. A pang of jealousy stabbed Amara's chest, but she forced it down, reminding herself that Leeway wasn't like that. He wouldn't do anything. As they stood there, the man from the club came into view. Spotting them instantly, he walked straight toward them. Standing before them, he looked at Amara and smiled, telling her he was glad she had come and changed her mind. Leaning in slightly, he teased her, asking if she was still thinking it was a scam. Amara laughed softly, shaking her head, the tension melting from her shoulders. He instructed them to follow him, explaining that they needed to get ready. As they walked, Amara and Momo's eyes widened at the space prepared for the shoot. The room was elegantly decorated, photographers moved with purpose, and a few models were already being prepped, their expressions calm and professional. The man turned to Amara, pointing out the area where she would start, cautioning her that it might take a while since it was a large project, but reassuring her that extra hours would be compensated. Amara glanced at Momo, a small, excited smile playing across her lips. They both felt a thrill at the scale and professionalism of the production. Suddenly, all eyes in the room shifted toward the entrance, whispers spreading like wildfire. Amara and Momo turned to see who had arrived and froze, surprised. A model, the girl who had claimed to be Leeway's girlfriend on social media, entered the room. She carried herself with effortless beauty, her presence commanding admiration from everyone around her. She scanned the room and demanded to know where her seat was. Suri immediately moved to guide her, pointing toward a corner. The girl's eyes narrowed, and she marched over, glaring, insisting she was the main model for the campaign. Her voice rose, declaring that her man was Leeway, the owner of East Gate Group, and that she could get her fired if Leeway knew how she was being treated. Amara's chest tightened at the girl's audacity. Momo, sensing the shift in her friend's expression, grabbed her hand and leaned close, whispering that the girl was merely chasing clout. She assured her that if Leeway found out about the girl's lies and arrogance, he would handle it swiftly. The man from the club returned, his presence grounding the situation. He told Amara that she would go first for the opening shoot, and that she needed to get ready. Both Momo and Amara followed him to the makeup and wardrobe section, taking in the organized chaos of stylists, racks of clothing, and makeup artists working with precise energy. Meanwhile, Leeway remained in his office, immersed in work as usual, refusing to take a break. He heard a few employees pass by, murmuring about how his girlfriend was at the shoot, and how stunning she looked in person. Leeway sat up straighter, his sharp mind immediately picking up on the words. His assistant entered, and Leeway's gaze shifted to him, demanding clarification. The assistant confirmed that indeed, his girlfriend was at the shoot, and that she looked beautiful. Everyone wanted to see her. Leeway's expression tightened, a storm building in his chest. He instructed his assistant that he wanted to pass by the shoot himself to see the woman who had been spreading false rumors about him online. With that, he left his office, his steps silent but purposeful, his assistant following closely behind. Back at the shoot, Amara was the first to step in. She began a wedding-themed shoot with a male model, moving gracefully as they posed together under the photographer's direction. Each movement was precise, elegant, capturing the essence of the theme. Momo stayed at the side, cheering softly. a proud smile lighting her face, encouraging Amara at every turn. Leeway appeared. He stood on the upper floor with his assistant, watching the shoot unfold below. The models moved gracefully across the set, photographers adjusting lights and cameras, and the hum of activity filled the large space. The assistant leaned closer and pointed toward Amara and the male model, remarking that they looked good together, like a real couple. Leeway's eyes followed the direction of his assistant's gesture, and the sight hit him like a jolt of heat he couldn't swallow down. His chest tightened, his pulse quickened, and a low, smoldering intensity spread through him, radiating in his gaze as he silently absorbed the scene before him.